All right, good morning, guys. We're going to get started here. All right, markets in the States continue their march up towards all-time highs on the S&Ps. Obviously, we're making all-time highs on the Dow. S&P's 1.5% from its all-time high, but probably closer to 1% from its closing high. And I think we'll reach that without a doubt. The U.S. jobs report on Friday was a huge positive. All the data that's come out of the States recently has been very, very good. And I think so long as that kind of thing continues, we'll get there with flying colors. So, Fitch cut Italy also on Friday, one level to triple B plus, but didn't really do a whole lot to the market. I think obviously the market had knew that was going to be coming soon. All right, overnight in Asia, we saw Asia was up mostly across the board. Japan continues to trade well on the back of this weaker yen. The one concerning thing was China, which had its weakest industrial output since 2009 in terms of since the start of the year. And lending and retail sales growth has also slowed. And what's even worse about that is they also had higher than expected inflation numbers. So I think that's a quite a big negative. I was thinking coming into the day, I'll talk about it a little bit later. There's some positive things on the horizon in terms of commodities. But the China, I think, negates that a little bit, and I think this is a story that we're going to need to monitor closely. There is a new change of power there. I think they'll be very quick to throw stimulus at it if if things start to really slow down too much. All right, Sasol came out with first half numbers earlier this morning, and they were pretty much bang in line at the middle of forecast on headline earnings per share, and right around kind of what their expectations were previously before the trading statement came out, or slightly less. Dividend per share missed by 30 cents, but from what we understand is this isn't going to be the focus of what these earnings are going to be. The real focus is going to be the spending going forward in terms of capex and what's going on out of Iran. So I think that's going to be the real interesting thing today, and to see how the market reacts to their comments that they make on the back of that. They are in talks to sell its stake in the Iranian unit, as far as I understand. And then they also made comments saying that they expect solid production performance in 2013 and remain on track to deliver on its expectations. So I think I don't know that there's any shockers in this. We've got a lot of stocks going ex-div today. We have BTI, that's over £1. So watch that one. There could be a little bit of opportunity this morning. We've got Kumba at 12 Rand 50. That's also another one that could be interesting. ShopRite at 1 Rand 23, 50 cents out of AngloGold, and 2 Rand 4 cents out of Trueworth. So just remember those this morning. Don't get caught up on the wrong side of playing those on an opening. And then just a note on Exaro, the Groote Clay mine that's been on strike starts today, or strike started today. I hope you guys like the pronunciation of that from the Yank. We'll see what happens with that going forward. But it's interesting that now all of a sudden they're starting to get strikes. All right. In China, obviously, we talked about the CPI numbers are hotter than expected, industrial production numbers that were weaker than expected. Interesting that money supply grew a little bit more, but we also had machine orders out of Japan that were weak. Later, we've got French industrial production, and we've got Italian GDP quarter on quarter, but nothing too major that's coming out later today. I think the big numbers really were out of China. All right, let's jump into the maps real quick. All right. The first thing I want to look at is the US dollar ZAR. And what I want to show here, I'm going to do two things. First, we're going to look at a 5-year chart. On the rand ZAR, we don't need to go all the way back 5 years, so just so you can see where this kind of trend line started here. Which obviously you can see we've been in a real downtrend on the yen from close to 6.5 back in the middle of 2011. A year and a half later, we're over 9 Rand per. But let's look back. This is the furthest I have ever, and probably will ever go back on one of these calls, on a 20-year chart on the Rand. And you can see there we're coming up against major trendline resistance. Now I'll put that resistance right at around 9, but somewhere between 920 and 930 on the Rand. And that is an enormous level, I think, for the Rand, and we're coming right up against that. I think we actually even wicked up close to that level on Friday early, or was it Thursday? I think this is something that's really, really important for us here locally to monitor. If we get above this trendline resistance in the Rand, this long-term trendline resistance in the Rand, I think it could get ugly here. I really don't see any reason for that. We've seen a lot of calming effects that have happened in terms of, they've really backed off of the nationalization side of mining. They've, Julius Malema is no longer in the picture. There's been some positives that have happened, obviously some negatives as well. But I really think the reason for the Rand weakness is based on the back of the power situation here, and the fact that Eskom it may end up needing to come back to the markets for more capital if they're not going to be able to raise tariffs the way they wanted to. So this is this in my mind is going to be something we need to watch really closely, this Rand here, and see if we can get above kind of the 920, 930 level. We'll look at it a little bit more closely in the coming days if it gets up there to see if we're breaking out. All right, let's step back from the 20 years and let's drop down to a 10-year. And let's look at the Dow Jones. Obviously, we've been talking about this for a few days. You can see here how the Dow is breaking out from long-term, to new highs, all-time highs. But what's really critical is that we're breaking levels that were last established, 5-6 years ago. And I just want to go over the importance of all this kind of stuff, and it's not just with the Dow. You can see the German DAX as well. It's not hasn't broken all-time highs yet. But we really broke resistance the other day. We're within spitting distance of an all-time high here also in the German market. We're also there, really, really close to all-time highs in the S&Ps, within 1% really kind of across the board. And I just think that it's really important for us to understand where we are in markets. And, when you have the major indexes around the world that are starting to break to all-time highs, it's not the time to try to pick tops in markets and things like that. So I just wanted to go over what some of these long-term charts are telling at us. In fact, I think screaming at us over the last little while. Okay, we'll jump into some shorter-term stuff now. First thing I'll look at is Nedbank. We tweeted this one on Friday as it was breaking, or right before it was breaking out. Right here at $98, $198. We broke through that. It did go up and trade. I think it traded 199.99 or something like that on the day, and then came back down, closed at 98.50. But nonetheless, we've broken out above what I think is clearly defined resistance in Nedbank, and I think that we've got to, as long as we're holding 98, and we've got to look to play the long side here in Nedbank. Next one I'm going to look at is Sasol, and this, this we've closed yesterday as what was basically previous closing highs as well, or within 50 cents of that level over the last year. I think this is something to watch really closely. We could be forming a little bit of a double top today, and obviously we have earnings today. So this is, today's going to be really, really important to see, whether we fail or whether we break through on those numbers today will be an inflection point, I think, in Sasol going forward. And then the only other things I wanted to show are just a couple of these charts on the New York Stock Exchange, which is really some of our local golds and how we've held. And what I think is really important here, Goldfield seems like it's starting to draw a little bit of a line in the sand here, about at $8. Oh, we made it. We got through it for short periods of time during the day, but really $8 has kind of been the bottom end of the range. What I think is really important, and we'll look at stocks like Anglo Gold as well, is that on Friday we had really, really strong jobs numbers in the States, and it was the first time since I can remember, since 2009, that when we've had really good data out of the States, physical commodity prices and equities for that, and the underlying equities for that matter, haven't sold off, and particularly the golds. That's been it's been one of the easiest trades in the market, and you can see on Friday. I mean, this is the time that the number came out is right here, right sort of here, and then the number came out. We sold off initially, and then we absolutely spiked. Straight from 10 minutes after that number was out, and traded up quite nicely on the back of that. So I think it's really important that we realize that we could have seen a bit of a sea change on Friday, with the fact that physical commodities finally traded well. They actually traded up after we had really good data out of the U.S. And to me, it says that the market knows that the U.S. is going to be taking their foot off the gas pretty soon. They're comfortable with that. They're happy with that. They think that the rest of the world is also obviously still doing some stimulus, and that going forward, good news can be good news, and bad news may be bad news again out of the States, which actually will be quite refreshing. But to me, I think it's something that we need to watch really closely the beginning half of this week. This could be a bit of a turning point in terms of and some of these commodities and precious metal stocks. I really believe it could be. So let's watch it really closely. Let's watch the entire space, and we'll keep you posted on that the rest of the week. And that's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot. Yeah.